things I see beginner podcasters struggling with when they first get started is how to get guests on their podcast before their show is live, before they have something to show for it. When they ask the question of like, but how do I get someone to come on my show? I hear a couple other questions underneath that. The first is, who am I even to be asking these people to come on my show? Like, why should these people come on my show? The other question is, why would someone come on a podcast that doesn't even exist yet? And I'll tell you this, as a professional producer making shows like Where Should We Begin for Esther Perel, and just for brands like the New York Times and TED, it's a different game because you have those brands to back you when you are asking somebody to come on your show. But I know how it felt when I was a beginner podcaster and no episodes had been published yet, and I wanted people to see the vision that I saw and I wanted them to come on, but I also understood that they had no real reason to say yes to me. I feel the pain that so many of you are experiencing. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 ways that I would go about pitching people to come on my show if I didn't yet have a podcast. And if you stay and watch till the end of this video, I'll be giving away free email templates that we use in the Emerging Voices Accelerator to pitch guests. So this is an exclusive product that I have made for the people that I work with very closely, but I'm giving it away to you because, I don't know, I'm feeling generous today, okay? So let's get into the very first thing you need to do. So when your podcast is brand new, or maybe it just hasn't picked up momentum yet, and you are asking people to come on your show by describing your podcast and the vision, it can feel quite hard if they don't yet know you. And this is especially true if you are pitching your dream guests, and these people are strangers to you, or you are a stranger to them. And so when you ask them to believe in something that has no proof yet, it's an uphill battle. The smarter thing that you can do is to stop overly focusing on the podcast as your source of credibility and actually focus on you, your lived experience, your work, whatever it is that your podcast is about and your experience or interest or research speaks to. That is what you want to talk about. And I'll give you an example. One of the podcasters in the Emerging Voices Accelerator. If you don't know what Emerging Voices is, it's an accelerator for aspiring podcasters or even podcasters who have begun but feel really frustrated by the process of trying to consistently create a show that grows over time. And if you find that you're doubting your ideas or you're feeling overwhelmed by the tech or you just don't know where to start, the accelerator could be a really good fit for you. And I would love to see your application. There's a link to it in the video description below. So back to the podcaster we were talking about. She really wanted to make a podcast about architecture. And when she first set out to pitch all of these big architects that she wanted on her show, she noticed that most of her pitches got no responses. So we shifted her strategy. Instead of her talking about what this podcast was going to be and why it was so important and why they should be on it, we got her to talk more about who she was as an architect and why she was incredibly passionate about this particular kind of architecture, so that it was an easier bridge to build between her and the guest that she wanted on her show. And essentially what you're doing is you're shifting the focus from your podcast being the main topic of why they should be on your show. And really you're asking them if they would like to have a conversation with someone who has thought about or is interested in the same thing that they think a lot about or are interested in, okay? So if you're a therapist, use your years of experience as a therapist when you are pitching your ideal guest. If you are a founder and had a big exit, use that story to pitch people to come on your podcast. And I hope this shift in perspective removes some of the emotional weight that comes with pitching, because I know so many of us are afraid of being rejected, and it can feel even more painful to be rejected for an idea that you're trying to bring to life. But if you just think about it as a conversation you're asking someone to have with you about about a specific subject and they say no or they don't respond, that says more about their interest in doing that activity more than it says anything about you or the value of what your podcast is going to be. Okay, so now that we're clear on that, we have to figure out who exactly you're going to be pitching to. And I see a lot of podcasters getting tripped up with this part, and I have been there too. And we all make the mistake of pitching people that have a huge audience or that have a podcast that has been established and been running for over a decade. And I think part of the reason we do that is because we think we need people with a huge audience to help our podcast grow. But I'm here to tell you that that is not a very wise strategy. In fact, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news and tell you that most of the pitches you make to really big names are probably not going to get a response. Now, I'm not someone who's going to tell you to dream small or that you shouldn't pitch your dream guest. I think you should, but you shouldn't be surprised if they don't respond. And that's not a bad thing. You are going to be in this game for a very long time and you can pitch them at some other point again. But when you're starting out, it's really, really wise to pitch people that you feel comfortable and confident with. So your close friend who cares about the same subject matter that you're covering on your podcast. Maybe it's an ex-professor. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a coworker. When you pitch someone that you do know and that you have rapport with, it's gonna make the podcast better in addition to you having an easy win as you're beginning the interviewing process, okay? So you're gonna get a yes from the person that knows you and wants to be on your show, but you're also just gonna get a better podcast because you have a sense of ease with this person. And so your first episode is not gonna be you trying to figure out how to not feel awkward while you're interviewing Oprah. You know what I mean? Like, take it easy. And it is going to come with time. And if you don't believe me, look back to Tim Ferriss's very first episode in 2014, before he became the Tim Ferriss that everybody knows now and the podcaster that everyone knows now. He interviewed his friend Kevin Rose. They'd been making content together for years before that, and so it only made sense that Kevin would be his first guest. And I really encourage you to take a page out of his book because that will give you some early wins and allow you to build momentum quickly, which is only going to accelerate your growth in the future. And once you've done that, your next step is to pitch people who are just a few steps ahead of you, not 10 or 100 steps ahead of you. So you've talked to the people in your circle, the people you know personally. Now you're starting to think about who else cares about the same subject that I care about, but they're not inundated with requests to be on a podcast every day. These are the people who you're going to pitch next. And there are a few ways that you can go about finding these people. So a very easy one, which you've probably noticed, is authors who have published a book in the last 6-ish months. They're actively going to be trying to promote their book. And it's not ahead of their book launch, which is when most of the activity for the book is happening for them. If you reach out to them 5-6 months in and you say to them, hey, listen, I read your book. I see that you're interested in the subject. I think my audience would really appreciate it. And I think they would want to become readers of your work. You have a really high chance of getting this author to come on your podcast. Similarly, founders who have launched a new project will be looking for opportunities to talk about their work. And one place I found to be really useful in terms of finding people who have started these new projects around the same subject that you care about is Threads. I feel like that is a community of people that are really going deep on one subject, and the algorithm is just very good at helping you find what it is that you're looking for. And while we're on the subject of Threads, that's a really good place to find experts on whatever subject it is that you are particularly interested in. So if you're an astrologer making a podcast about astrology or herbalism or spiritualism or whatever else, then you are likely to find people who are at the top of their game hanging out on Threads, and it would be a brilliant move on your part to message them and actually see if they would want to be a guest on your show. And actually, that's how how a woman named Colette got me on her podcast. I was posting about something on Threads. She saw the post. She reached out to me, asked me if I'd be interested in coming on her show and talking about living abroad because she runs a podcast about exactly that. And her podcast is called Eat the Damn Bread. After we talked a bit, I just found her to be really easygoing and lovely. And so I agreed to be a guest on her show to talk about the subject that I don't often talk about. And the one thing I'll say here is, even though I went on Colette's podcast off of one Threads post, something I would encourage everybody to do and that I practice all the time is to warm people up before you pitch them. Because it's generally harder to go from complete stranger to, yes, I will spend an hour with you. It's very helpful if they make content of some sort, whether it's Threads posts, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. If they are posting on any of these platforms, it's very helpful for you to connect with what it is that they're posting about, leave comments, like their work, and then a few days or weeks later, reach out to them, tell them you appreciate their work, and only then pitch them. And here's the thing, pitching people and asking them to be a guest on your show should not feel transactional. It should feel like the beginning of a longer term relationship or the beginning of something useful and generative for both of you. And I'll give you an example of someone that did this really well. It wasn't a podcast she was pitching me for. She was a YouTube strategist. Her name is Taylor. She runs an agency called Create and Cultivate. And while I get hundreds of emails from YouTube editors and YouTube strategists, Taylor's approach worked so well that I ended up inviting her to be a guest inside the accelerator to teach people how to leverage YouTube and how to think about video podcasting. And here's why. Instead of sending me an email telling me what it is that I need to improve about my YouTube videos, which is what 99% of YouTube editor pitches look like in my inbox, she responded to an Instagram story that I had made about something completely unrelated to YouTube. And she just liked the post and sent me a message saying, I feel the same way, or something to that effect. After a few exchanges, I felt like, oh, this is a person who's in my same vibe. Like, I like what this person has to say. I like how she's operating. So then when she sent me a message saying, hey, by the way, I'm a YouTube strategist and an editor, and I love your YouTube channel. If you ever want to talk about strategy, I'm here and would love to talk to you. I didn't hesitate. It felt like a really natural evolution. And I reached out to her, and from there, the relationship has only grown. So I really recommend the strategy of warming people up before you pitch them. Okay, so at this point, you know what to lead with, you know who to pitch, and you know to warm them up before you pitch them. Now let's talk about how you actually do the pitch. Now, I'm not going to read you a pitch email line by line because that is what the template is for. But what I really want you to understand is the structure of a good pitch, because once you understand the structure, you can make it truly your own and you can use it to pitch and ask for whatever you want. It's not just about your podcast. It's really about learning to ask for what it is that you want in this crazy world we're in. The way I teach this in the Emerging Voices Accelerator is in 3 parts. Part 1 is to establish credibility in 1 sentence. So this is what we were talking about earlier. You don't want to focus on the podcast that doesn't exist yet. You want to establish credibility using you and who you are. So here is an example of what someone might write. Hi, my name is Jordan Cortez. I'm a first-generation college counselor at a public high school in Phoenix, and I've spent the last 8 years helping kids navigate a system that wasn't built for them. Part 2 is to personalize the request, and this is where 80% of your effort should go. You want to have spent some time reading their book, their blog post, their LinkedIn posts, their podcast episode that they were featured on, whatever it is that they have worked on. You want to spend some time familiarizing yourself with who they are and what it is that they talk about and what it is that they care about. You want to know their point of view. And then you want to reference that point of view when you are speaking to them in this email. And I'll tell you this, a lot of people do this in a very half-assed way. I get tons of pitches of people saying, hey, love your podcast. I think that I would be a really great guest on your show because. And it blows my mind because they've never seen a guest on this show. So why do they think they would be a really good guest on this show? They don't know what it is I make. They've just decided this person covers the same topic topic that I care about. So I'm going to pitch them. And this is my attempt at quote unquote personalizing the pitch. If on the other hand, you actually do the work and you feel like I like this person or I like the way they think about this thing, you should be able to specifically name what it is that you like about their approach or their work or who they are. You should be able to connect what it is that they do, their point of view, their work, with what it is that you're creating in the podcast that you're making. Which brings us to part 3. Make your ask very specific and very small. So when you're asking for their time, make sure you're not asking for 2 hours of their time for an extended conversation on XYZ subject. Tell them it will take a reasonable amount of time. I think 1 hour is more than enough for anyone starting their podcast. And tell them what recording platform you'll be recording on and what will be required of them. If you make it easy, it's going to be super simple for them to say yes, because it's just an hour of their time and you've already told them why this is meaningful or why this will be interesting or fun for them. Here's a line from an email that I've sent. The interview would take no more than 60 minutes and we would be recording virtually. If all of this sounds aligned, please let me know if you have any availability during the following dates and times, and I'll send you the next steps in a separate email. You can also link to your Calendly and you can say, hey, if none of the times available on Calendly work for you, just let me know when does, and I can work around your schedule. So that's it. That's the structure of a really good pitch. And one thing on follow-up emails, if you send your pitch and then 7-10 days go by and you haven't gotten a response, it is perfectly appropriate for you to respond to the original email that you sent and just remind them that you are still interested in this and wanted to bring it to the top of their inbox. I have had this happen multiple times where when someone sends a follow-up, that's when I remember, oh my God, I just never responded to this, but I meant to. And that can turn what you thought was a no into a yes. On the subject of no's, I think we have to talk about the possibility of rejection. Rejection is part of this game of pitching, okay? If you're sending out a cold pitch, I think statistically it's something like 5% of cold pitches end up in a yes for whatever you're cold pitching. So if you send out 100 emails, only 5 people will say yes. And that's okay. That means you are aligned with how this typically works. Warm requests tend to have a higher response rate. So I would say somewhere between like 2 and 3 yeses for every 10 pitches that you send out. And that's why I really encourage you to warm up the people that you plan on pitching. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if it's good advice, but it's the truth. I hate cold pitching. And I hate cold pitching because 5 out of 100 responses just feels like a poor use of my time. So 9 times out of 10, I am always doing a warm pitch. And this doesn't mean rejections don't happen. They absolutely do. But they happen at a rate or at a loss level that makes sense to my brain. And I feel like, yeah, getting 8 no's and 2 yeses is a lot better than getting 95 no's and 5 yeses. And it's much easier for me to focus on, 10 people that I think are a great fit and are somewhat realistic. And I can do the research and actually personalize my pitch to these people. The other thing about rejection is a no today is not a no forever. I have had many instances where I have pitched people, they just never got back to me, or they said, no, not at this time, or no, I'm not interested. And then 3 years later, I met them at an event. They were really warm and friendly. We ended up building a relationship, and then they came on my show. So I really don't want you to take no's as a personal offense or as a tragic loss on your part. It is part of the game, and you have to build your resilience to it, because that's the only way that you can keep going. Also, you should remember that when you get a yes and that person comes on your show and they have a lovely time with you, that person is going to be able to refer you to many other people who they think could be a good fit for your podcast and for the kinds of conversations that you have. So don't be afraid at the end of your interviews to say, is there someone that you think I should reach out to that would be a good guest on this show? And if you do this where you're treating each guest like they are your most important guest and asking them who else that might be a good fit. I promise you, you're gonna have a lot of fun while also getting lots of interesting people on your show. Okay, and now for the thing that I promised you at the very start. The templates for pitching people, both acquaintances and completely cold pitches, are gonna be linked right here. So you can scan this QR code, or you can use the link in the video description below, and you will get this in your email. This is something that I created for the podcasters in the Emerging Voices Accelerator. It's one of many emails in our email template library. And if that sounds like something that's super useful to you, these kinds of like guides, templates, blueprints for how you begin and actually execute and grow your podcast, then you might be a really good fit for the Emerging Voices Accelerator. You can find a link to apply to the accelerator below. Okay, I will see you in the next episode.